All right. This is 15 May 2023. 2022. Sorry about that. I'm thinking about 2023 elections anyway. But you know, we have been talking about 2023 for quite some time now. So pardon me if I want to get into 2023. But anyway, tonight we had penned our show or our big debate to talk about what is happening with our health system. Unfortunately, one of our panelists could not make it. So, as you know, two of the biggest parties in Zimbabwe that contesting for power, which is CCC and ZANU-PF. So it wouldn't be good for us to have such a discussion with one-sided party alone. So therefore, we decided to put it on Tuesday when both of them are available. So that's the reason why we could not hold the conversation that we had planned. And as you can see from on our posts on Zim social network and even on my post, my page, Kenan Rusike, I have said apologies to everyone. But today I'm joined by other people that I have today. Elliot Kajume was one of the people that I was supposed to have as a guest on our show today. And I also have my longtime partner in crime, my sister, Dr. Gugunube. I think some of you know her. She's also part of the panel today. So Elliot Kajume and Dr. Gugunube, they are here. I want to welcome to the show before we dive into that conversation. Dr. Gugunube and Elliot Kajume, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me too. Thank you.
All right. Nyasha Chikupo, I see you there. You're saying TCOP Alive. Obviously, I'm going to put in the link so that you can join the conversation. We want to dive into that conversation, definitely. So today, we have a different topic, or we can say topics that we're going to talk about. The first one, we're going to look at the violence that we've seen stemming just after the by-elections and before the by-elections, and the police action on that. And then we're also going to look at the child marriages that we're seeing. What can be done, or the child pregnancies, what can be done to make sure that we stop that, because these children that are getting pregnant, they are our future. Once they become fathers, they become mothers, then it means that we have lost a generation. What can be done? So to join us to talk about that is Dr. Gugunube, who is a ZANU-PF activist, and she is also a woman who represents the rights of women and young children. Dr. Gugu, tell us, you are the one that is in that area. What is it that you are planning to do in order to see a plan of action towards stopping child marriages or teenage pregnancies?
What we are planning to do as women in Zimbabwe is we're planning to engage the Minister of Justice so that there are certain laws that need to be pushed. The first law that need to be pushed is that the age of consent should not be at 16. It should go back to 18. The second one is that anybody who is found to have violated a young girl who is below the age of 18 should face the consequences and the long arm of the law. We are seeing a number of cases going down the drain because the so-called, perpetrators are connected to so and so and so and so. And as women in Zimbabwe, we are saying, you know what? We are tired of having our girl children being the ones that are affected negatively by the whole system. We are standing up for our daughters and we are saying enough is enough. We saw the video today and we do not condone that. Yeah, thank you.
All right. But one might say that, look, if you look at what is happening probably here in South Africa, you are trying to push the age of consent to 18. Some might say that already these people or these young people, they are already involved in sex at a young age, probably because they are in school. These young people that are in school, they'll end up, impregnating each other. Are you going to be able to then put these 14, 15-year-olds into jail together because they have impregnated each other? How are you going to deal with that?
You see, in Zimbabwe, it's a very different case, a very, very different one. 90% of those teenage pregnancies are by adults, adult men. Which is a very disappointment because it's very few cases of teenage boy to a teenage girl. Those are very, it's just a handful of those cases. But my worry is that a very big man, 30-year-old, 40, 50, 60-year-old, looks at a boy child and sees a girl child, a 15-year-old, and sees a wife there. Yet they've got a 15-year-old daughter at home. So you go out as a father, you see a 15-year-old, you look at her and you see a wife, you go home, you see your 15-year-old and you see a child in her. What is the difference? Our men are so abusive. Our men, you should have seen the responses I was getting from the WhatsApp groups. I actually posted some of them on my WhatsApp status. You can go and check for them. It's a shame. It's a disappointment because many people are actually blaming the girl child. Fine, the girl child did not get herself pregnant. Where is the boy child or the man who got her pregnant? How are they affected? How are they suffering? How has their life been limited? We are only seeing a life of a girl child being limited. Are Zimbabwean men so weak to the extent that they feel that the emancipation of women is a threat to them? Have we come to that point whereby our men are that weak? We are also going, as a woman and as a leader myself, I'm going to advocate for abortion to be legalized in Zimbabwe. Why am I saying abortion should be legalized? Because I'm seeing a man who is impregnating a 15-year-old. A 15-year-old now stops going to school, is now becoming, even if she goes back to school, life will never be the same. You are a mother who is going to school, you are being mocked by other children. A lot is happening. A lot of physical and psychological factors come in there. So that child will never be the same. But they are refused. They are denied the right to do abortion. In other words, people are saying, Gugu, you are advocating for murder. And I am saying, no, I'm not advocating for murder. I am advocating for the life that we have, for the life that we know. We cannot value the life that we do not know at the expense of the life that we know. The life of a 1-month pregnancy is something that we don't know. We don't even know whether it's going to pull up to 9 months. We don't know about that. But this life of a 15-year-old, we have had it for 15 years. We have nurtured it.
Gugu, I'm losing you. Are you still there? Gugu? All right. Whilst you're waiting for Gugu's line to be better, let me just jump into Eliad. What is your take on this one?
What is your take on this one?
Let me not speak as a professional in this field, but I'll just, look into this thing with a perspective of someone who is concerned about the issue of child marriages as well. Uh, my concern is a bit political in this aspect. And I would argue to say the government is doing little to no, is actually doing little, is putting less effort in trying to curb the issue of child marriages. A clear example of it would be that of, for example, we had an issue which was circulating on social media recently of that 14-year-old girl from Juan Marange who was actually impregnated by an older man, like as it is a cultural tradition at their church, and it happened that she died while she was trying to give birth at an age of 14 years. And we have had the government trying to drag and being less active and putting less to no effort in trying to get the perpetrator arrested. That is not only the case. The thing is that case just came in as an eye opener to what is actually happening in that sect, what is actually happening in that church. I myself, I know what happens there. I grew up with friends who were going to Joan Maranke. You would see girls even at the age of less than 10 doing the old cultural traditions in Shona, they would say Kuzarira, being given to old men, kuti andokurira ikoko, waiting to be married. So that thing has been happening for a long time. From the time when I was born, I saw it happening. Literally, I saw it happening from that time, and you know, up to now, I know it's still happening. The thing is, the government is putting less to no effort in trying to fight
Mm,
against that. But ZANU-PF, to be specific, is the biggest beneficiary from that church because they are manipulating them so that they can as well vote for them when it comes to political campaigns and everything. So, if the government needs to be serious, they need to play the front role and ensure that child marriages are stopped. And that fight should not be directed much further, but with clear evidence that is there, that is proven, that we can actually look into and start fighting. And like she was saying, it is also a need that maybe there be laws that need to be enacted to ensure that these child marriages are avoided. And to be more specific, it is also important that as a government or as part of activists as she is, they should actually do awareness campaigns and a lot of other things to spread the information. I've actually realized in most rural areas, people are not even concerned and aware that these child marriages are actually an issue. As long as they see that the person is there and is ready to be married, and the cows to process the issue of lobola is there, they are way much comfortable with going through it. It is not as much strict here as it is in urban areas. So I think there's need for awareness campaigns. There's needs to teach people, and also the other thing, this also goes beyond the aspect of just it being in an ordinary aspect, especially in the rural areas. These people, most of them, they just drop out of school, considering the economic situations that are there in the country. And at the end, they have nothing else to do because you can't be employed, you are not educated, you have no activity. At the end, they just end up getting married, even at a young age. So it's actually a critical issue, which is quite broad and big, that it was going to need a lot of attention and to be dealt with a very serious hand, in that aspect. So maybe for now, let me just end there. I don't know if Goku is back.
yes, yes, I'm back. And I need to point out on what you just said. You just said ZANU-PF needs to up its game, basically, in other words. And I want to disagree with you because you are contradicting yourself. You're saying it's a government thing, it's a ZANU-PF thing. On the other side, you are saying this is a very huge thing, this is a broad thing. You understand? I don't think this is now a ZANU-PF problem. This is not a ZANU-PF problem. This is a Zimbabwean problem. It requires every concerned citizen, every noble citizen to come on board and advocate for the rights of the girl child. So it's no longer a ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF cannot be blamed for this. Yes, you are saying ZANU-PF is affiliated to a certain church, but some of these cases that are happening are actually perpetrated by CCC members. I remember a few months ago, I had to ask my father to talk to one of the CCC mayors who actually impregnated a very young woman and I was refusing to take care of the baby. You understand that? So I ended up using my father to intervene in that matter and probably talk to that particular guy, which I found so very strange. That guy does not belong to ZANU-PF. Now, coming to the case that I was talking about, I was saying, the issue of abortion, as much as it is a sensitive one, but it is necessary for Zimbabweans to talk about abortion. Because when you are saying these girls and women should not abort, in other words, you are forcing a girl child to carry the child that they do not want, that they are not ready for, right? Now, when that child is born, remember, I'm only 15 and I'm not ready for this child. This child is born. I'm not going to be able to love this child. You are actually bringing a soul to the world, a soul that I, as the mother, will not be able to love. And we know that every child needs and deserves the love of their mother. It has to first start with me as a mother. If I cannot love that child because I'm thinking she or he is reminding me of a lot of bad things that happened to me when I was only 15, I won't be able to love that child. Now I am stuck for the rest of my life with this, I put it in quotes, with this mistake child. I'm stuck with this mistake child for the rest of my life. How do you think I am feeling emotionally and psychologically? Are you not also killing me? I have been asking doctors out there to say, doctors, in the event you have to serve one of these, on the right, you have got the mother. On the left, you have got an unborn child. Who do you serve between the two? And all the doctors said to me, we save the mother. So why are you not saving a girl child? Why are you preferring to keep a pregnancy that you all don't know at the expense of a girl child, somebody that you all know? Because when we are talking about killing, it's not only physical. Actually, the bigger death is the psychological and the emotional. Those are so traumatizing. Why are we putting the girl children through so much? Back to you, Riske.
I think you're muted, Mr. Risika. I cannot hear you personally. I don't know about.
Yeah. I think I hear you. I hear you. Sorry about that. I hear you, and the point that you are saying, Gugu, on that point. But I wanted to ask if there is, if you look here in South Africa, why can't you then? One might say, why can't you then allow the child that has been, married off or that has been impregnated to still keep the baby, but be allowed to come back to school even after they have a baby? One might say, why don't you implement the measures that South Africa has adopted, the measures of giving the children contraceptives and give them access to the likes of all these contraceptives that are available, be it your loop, be it whatever contraceptive measures that are available. Why don't you implement that so that you don't have then to have, because if you legalize abortion, are you not also creating another avenue for those doctors that will be doing these things in their own backyard, thereby actually increasing the number of women that are going to die because of the abortions, illegal abortions, I mean to say.
Remember when the issue of contraceptives, when many comrades were standing up against it, I'm one of the very few advocates that stood up and said, no, I am for contraceptives. Because at the end of the day, I feel that it is the girl child who is suffering. And many people were saying, no, dzidzisai vana venyu, teach your kids and what. Come on, these things are happening. It's not about parents are negligent or parents are loose or parents are not teaching their children morals. No, it's not about that. Children will always remain children. That on its own should show us that 15-year-olds, they are just 15, but they are psychologically very young, and we are just judging them according to their chronological ages, which to me doesn't make much sense. So I am one of the advocates that are saying, I'm standing up for abortion. I'm standing up for contraceptives. Let the girl child choose. There is a contraceptive. Let the girl child say, you know what? I want to take contraceptive so that I do not get pregnant. Let the girl child say, you know what? I made a mistake. I forgot to take contraceptive on that day. I engaged in unprotected sex, which was negligent of me, which I should not have done. But fine, I did it. I'm only human like any other. I shouldn't crucify myself, but I choose not to keep the child. Let it be the choice of a girl child. In terms of going to school, girls in Zimbabwe are allowed to go to school. Advocates advocated for that, and girls are allowed to go back to school. But at the end of the day, Kenan, is not the same. You are a mother sitting with somebody who is not a mother. Already your line of thinking here is already differing. Even if you are the same age, you are thinking of the child. Your breast, the milk is coming out. You are in class. And all those things, other children are laughing at you. You are pregnant at school. It's not the same. It's not the same. Whichever way the girl child is affected in a very negative way, we need to be empowering our girl children, not to be disempowering them simply because they fell pregnant. No, it's not a sin to fall pregnant. It's not. How many people out there are married and cheating on their spouses, and then they come out here, they want to behave so holy and crucify our 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds? We do not condone what they are doing as young girls. No, we still continue teaching them. Say, guys, look after yourself, 1, 2, 3, 4. But at the same time, we cannot allow them to be destroyed, to have their future taken away from them. No.
There you have it, viewers and listeners. I am talking to Gugunube and Eliad Kajume, and we are still tackling the story of the young women that are falling pregnant. And there is a disturbing video that I wanted to play you, which is here. Then we can continue the conversation, but we want to wrap up this one and then focus on the other story of violence that broke out this week, and how can it be solved at national level or an inter-party level? How can we solve that? So let's just play you the video, and then I'm going to allow Elliot to come in and share his thoughts.
Ndonzitanya nde-16 years ndine nhumbi ne-2 months.
Mona Lisa 17 years nhumbi yangu ne-8 months.
Diana 16 years nhumbi yangu ne-6 months. Ndonzi Beautyfara ndine nhumbi yangu ne-7 months. Ndinonzi Beautyfara ndine nhumbi yangu ne-7 months. Makore angu 16 years.
Mali ndine 16 years nhumbi yangu ne-7 months. Nokutula ndine 16 years nhumbi yangu ne-7 months.
Vanonyasha nhumbi yangu ne-8 months ndine 16 years. Ndonzi Emilia nhumbi yangu ne-4 months ne-15 years. Ndonzi Monica ndine 16 years nhumbi yangu ne-6 months.
Ndonzi Margaret ndine 16 years nhumbi yangu ne-6 months.
Ndonzi Rashon ne-17 nhumbi ne-4 months ndimona ne-8.
Rashon Nyamsangkuza ndine 17 years nhumbi ne-4 months ndimona ne-8.
That is a video from Rona Flow Foundation, and you can see these are young women that are 16, 17 is the oldest. What do you have to say about that, Elliot?
It is quite touching to see that a lot of these girls are actually pregnant at this age. And what is more discouraging and disappointing is that, like Gugu was quoting, to say most of their future. In fact, their future, as the situation is in Zimbabwe, has already been disturbed. You can see that they cannot do anything with their lives now, considering that they cannot. Maybe I don't know if I don't even think they will be able to even afford themselves to go back to school and support the child at the same time. It is quite unfortunate, and I agree to say that this is a national crisis that needs to be looked at. And like I had said to before, I understand that everyone is doing it, and not ZANU-PF people are doing it, not CCC people are doing it, not MDCT people are doing it. Everyone is doing it in Zimbabwe, and this thing needs to be dealt with, not from a political perspective to say between these people are ZANU-PF people, these people are CCC people. No, my point to that is as a government, and the government which is in power is the ZANU-PF government. The ZANU-PF government is somehow negligent of these issues. They need to put a firm hand in dealing with this. I am not being, or am I trying to put political inclination to this? They have to put a firm hand into this and ensure that these children are protected. They are the majority in parliament. They can deal with this. They can influence these decisions. These decisions are not even political. They can be looked at from a neutral perspective and ensure that whoever is the perpetrator faces justice. And we protect the lives and we protect the future of the girl child in Zimbabwe. It is important that this is dealt with. And like I said, ZANU-PF is negligent of this, and they are not serious with fighting this. They need to up their hand and ensure that this is done. And even the CCC MPs who are in parliament, they also need to push for such reforms, to ensure that there are laws that are enacted. Even the MTC MPs, they are also supposed to push for laws that protect the girl child in parliament. Everyone is responsible, and everyone should speak out, and everyone should talk about it, because it is quite disheartening to imagine that these girls and the number of them in these videos is actually quite shocking, and also it is painful to even look at. I have my heart in pain because of this. I think I will end there for now.
All right. Gugu, any final word on this before we jump into the next topic? Gugu, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you were muted, so I think that's what. Okay.
Okay.
You can go ahead. I was saying any final word before we jump into the
Oh,
next
all
topic.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, my final word is I agree with what he says, but my worry is that Zimbabweans are politicizing issues of women and children. You see, as much as there is ZANU-PF, the majority with the majority, and CCC, there are issues as a nation that we should never be seen to be politicizing. We can never be seen to be politicizing issues of women and children. We can't. For me, as Ugugu, I do not mind which party any woman comes from. If a woman approaches me with their issue, I simply take up that issue and I knock at whosoever minister's office. I do not care, because before you are MDC or CCC or ZANU-PF, you are a woman and you are my sister. Your party comes secondary to me. So I wish Zimbabweans can shy away from politicizing the issues of girls and children. If there is rape, it's a rape. If it's done by Joan Marange member, it's a rape. It does not matter who has done it and who is affiliated to who. We should never politicize such issues. Other than that, we need to unite as a nation and speak in one word, in one voice. Our girl children really need us. That's a sad situation that we are having on the ground. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Gugu. Then move to our final topic today of the day, the story of violence that we are seeing. My question probably to both of you is that, are we going to have a pact or an agreement whereby both parties are in agreement to say, we are not going to condone this. We're signing probably a bill into action that if anyone is caught on the wrong side of the law, not instigating violence only, but performing violence, that person must face the full might of the law. Are we seeing any of that happening between these we can say three main parties that are in Zimbabwe? Is there any commitment to that, to say let's end violence, because we cannot keep on talking about violence, elections in, elections out, violence, elections in, elections out? Are we going to see an end to this at any time in the foreseeable future?
If you can allow me to start.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the events in our country concerning the aspects and issues of violence have actually gone towards a direction which is quite sad, if I may start to say. It is very unfortunate, if I look at it, that the people in higher offices have actually been more violent in speech than they should be condoning violence, political violence, if I may say it that way. I would want to quote, for example, Vice President Chiwenga, who in a rally in Kwekwe threatened to crush MDC supporters like lies. Imagine in his higher office and in his capacity as the vice president, threatening to crush opponents. And I'll quote another example of President himself, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, who said, those that want to try and demonstrate in Harare, I will paraphrase, should be and will be wasting their time, because we will send in the police and they will suffer the pain of tear gases and all those things. So it is quite unfortunate that the people who should be responsible for calling against political violence are the ones who are perpetrating it. It is also unfortunate that even ZEC, who is supposed to be the referee and ensure that there should be fair play, is not even condoning the same violence or is not condemning the other player to say, no, this player should not be speaking like this. There is no fair play, or is there any fair management of these issues in Zimbabwe? It is quite unfortunate that things are in this direction. For the sake of this conversation and debate, let me end there and then we'll continue with the debate.
All right. Gugu, you want to come in?
Yes, please. First of all, I want to say there is no violence that is above sanctions. You have got old men, lawmakers for that matter. Some of them who wrote the Constitution of Zimbabwe, dragging each other to different countries, going to beg for sanctions. Sanctions to strangle a Zimbabwean child. Sanctions that are meant to coerce a Zimbabwean child into voting for them. There is no violence that can ever be above that. The CCC leaders are the most violent people. So violent to the extent that they do not have respect for the democratic right of a Zimbabwean child to vote. They don't. They think they can force a Zimbabwean child to hand power to them. Unfortunately, in Zimbabwe, we are a sovereign state, and power is found only from the ballot. We meet you in the ballot. If you win, we give you the power. My comrade here talks about ZEC being one of the organizations that is not condemning violence. You are contesting. Before you contest, you know that ZEC is running the elections. And from your statement, you are saying ZEC is not neutral. Why then do you even contest? Number one. Number two, Just a few weeks back, you were celebrating the so-called victory, the victory that you obtained from an election that was run by ZAC, which you do not have trust in. I think CCC people need to put their facts together. You cannot celebrate a victory that was run by somebody who is not neutral. So I'm sitting here as a ZANU PF child and I'm saying, oh, so the elections were rigged. This time elections were rigged in their favor. They are not complaining. So honestly, CCC people need to get their facts together if they really need us to talk about violence happening in Zimbabwe and the lies that many of them are perpetuating, all in the interest of getting money. We know that there are organizations that are paid to demonize Zimbabwe. We know that. We have got a list of them. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Elliot, you wanted to come in?
Yes, if I may ask a question, and then I'll ask these questions, and then if possible, I should be able to answer them after I finish my submission against that. Let me start by saying, Google, this has nothing to do with me being CCC. This has nothing to do with you being ZANU-PF. Let's talk like this. As Zimbabweans, we want a better Zimbabwe for ourselves, for our own children, for a better nation, for the whole population of Zimbabwe. Let us not use emotions. Neither should we use anger to address this. Let's be factual and straight to the point. Look, did we not have the vice president say we'll crush them like lice? That's the first question. Did we also not have the president saying if people go and demonstrate into the Harare streets, they'll face the tear gases? Did we not have the president say that himself? And then I'll go on to say, do you know that during the time of Ian Smith, there were serious trade sanctions, which were serious embargoes against the Smith regime government? And do you know that at one point, Chris Mutswangwa said, if one cannot deal with sanctions, it means they have failed to rule the nation. That was their statement as they were trying to topple Robert Mugabe in 2017. Do you know that Chris Mutswangwa said that? That would be the third question. And I would also want to say, do you also realize that the sanctions that are in Zimbabwe are targeted sanctions? They are only targeted sanctions, and the people who are targeted on those sanctions is because they have been working against the citizens of Zimbabwe. It is if CCC is that powerful. Listen, let me finish. I gave you your time, and then you have to present your presentation and give your point. So if CCC is that powerful that it can go on and ask for sanctions from foreign governments, and ZANU-PF cannot be able to fight against that, doesn't that make them a weaker alternative for the people of Zimbabwe? And also to say, how can you say CCC is more violent in calling for sanctions? Which violent sanctions? When we have Emerson Mnangagwa, who perpetrated the Gukura window from 1983, by killing the people of Zimbabwe. We're not talking about just killing anyone. They killed the people of Zimbabwe in Zimbabwe. That which you know is not a history which is foreign to you that I'm asking now. So that I may give you time to respond. But please confirm to me that Chiwenga did not say you crush the people like lies. Also confirm that Mnangagwa did not say people who face tear gas in Harare. And please also confirm that ZEC has said anything against those statements. If there is anything that ZEC has said, please do say and mention now. Thank you.
Gugu, you want to come in?
Yes, please. First
Okay,
of all,
go ahead.
you are asking me to confirm the VP and His Excellency statements.
Definitely.
I say it to you. There is no violence greater than the sanctions. Right now, we are speaking of a number of industries that were closed in Zimbabwe. They were closed because of sanctions. You are saying, Wena, the sanctions are targeted. But we have got a monarch. They couldn't continue with their production because they couldn't get the resources anymore. They couldn't get the loans from various international banks, institutions. They couldn't get their produce sold across the globe. So there can never be violence more violent than the sanctions. You are talking of the vice president, what he said. If you are going to be taking people out of context, this is exactly what you were defending about who is this one who is paid to demonize Zimbabwe, Hopewell Chingono. You were defending Hopewell Chingono a few days ago for demonizing Zimbabwe on the international platform. That cannot be condoned. There is no excuse for that. So you should stop taking people out of context. You are talking about ED being involved in Gukuraundi. When ED came into power, can I finish? I think you said.
Allow him to finish. Allow him to finish.
You said I must allow you to finish. So can you also allow me to finish?
Yes,
when ED came into power, I was there in that meeting. ED said, let's bury the matches. Let's work together as citizens of Zimbabwe, because going back to history, it is not going to benefit any of us. I support that statement by His Excellency. You know why? Because if you go down to Gukuraundi, there were Ndebele people, there were Matebeleland and Midlands people who were selling out their own people. So now if we have to dig and go back, we'll find that when now you sold your father sold your mother sold your uncle. So how is that going to bring us any solution right now? How is that going to help in building Zimbabwe going forward? It did say that this Gukuraundi cannot be said it was right or whatsoever. He said it was wrong. It was a moment of madness. But how is it going to help us? Let's go. Going back is not going to help anyone. Yes, people are wounded. Yes, we agree to that. I'm not going to say people were not wounded. By the way, it is not only Ndebele people that were wounded. There are also some Shona people that were wounded in this whole Gukuraundi thing. So if now we start throwing a snake at each other, we'll never get anywhere as a country. So I don't believe in the blame game. I believe the past is in the past for a reason. The past cannot take us anywhere. We can't dwell in the past. We need to focus right now. And you are saying sanctions are targeted. Let me tell you, let me give you one example to prove to you that CCC members are misleading each other. I will give you an example of DG Moyo, the Director General for CIO. When the position of the Director General was put under sanctions, DG Moyo was an ambassador in South Africa. He was not the DG for CIO. The position, it is the position that was sanctioned. When DG Moyo came into to become the Director General for CIO, that position was already under sanctions. DG Moyo automatically went to the list of the sanctioned people. How did DG Moyo participate in any violence? What did he do that caused his name to be on the sanctions list? I don't believe that there are any targeted sanctions in Zimbabwe. If there are targeted sanctions, why are you not getting employment in Zimbabwe? Why did the industries close? Was cold storage owned by ED? No, it was not owned by the president. Was Monarch and Melin owned by VP Chiwenga? No, it was not owned by them. But those industries closed, those factories closed. You and me, our fathers remained jobless. Now you're going to tell me of targeted sanctions. If the sanctions are targeted, then everybody who is out of Zimbabwe must go back to Zimbabwe. So why are you all out of Zimbabwe when the sanctions are targeted? It must only be His Excellency, the Vice President, and so and so and so and so who are on the sanctions list that must be seen to be running away from Zimbabwe, going somewhere else. But those people are not running away. They are there in Zimbabwe trying to say, let's pick up the little pieces that we have, children of Zimbabwe. Let's put them together and build our full puzzle. Since the sanctions are not serving any purpose,
hear you,
CCC
Gugu.
must join the campaign and remove the sanctions. They have the sanctions removed. They are not serving any purpose according to you. So why not remove them?
All right.
Thank you.
Can you allow? Okay. Thank you for that, Gugu. Elliot, you wanted to come in before we pose in another question.
Okay.
And
Okay. She still has not answered my question. The question I asked was, did Vice President Chiwenga not say that people will be crushed like lice? She said, I am taking his statement out of context. And I was jumping in to ask, which context then was he referring to? Well, she was defensive about it. And also, I asked, did Mnangagwa not say if people go into the streets, they'll face the rate of tear gases? She just mumbled and did not answer anything about that. Do you also, Google, realize that Mnangagwa led a terror campaign, including his vice president now, against the people of the opposition in 2008, leading to the bloody runoff of 2008, 27 June? Does she also realize that happened? And also, taking it back into context, me personally, I have now. Okay, let me just go back to the context of the old times. Have you also came across when ZANU-PF during the time of the Smith regime was calling for sanctions because the Smith regime was oppressing Zimbabwean people? Did you come across that time when Wana Edgar, Wana Zobgo, and even the former president, then Robert Mugabe, were calling for sanctions because they were saying the government was mistreating his people, abusing his people, and terrorizing his own people? What's the difference then now? Is ZANU-PF not oppressing its own people? We are not talking about this from a CC perspective. We are talking about this from a Zimbabwean perspective, from a fair point perspective. Is Zimbabwe treating its people in a fair manner? Are people not being killed every day, being persecuted because of political affiliations? Have we not seen ZANU-PF thugs attacking opposition members? Have we not seen a lot of violence targeting a lot of opposition politicians in Zimbabwe? Can we say that is fair? And can we say ZANU-PF is doing a good job? Can we say those that put on sanctions because the leaders are leading terror groups, persecuting their own population, are being unjust, and sanctions are unjust? The ZANU-PF is doing quite well. You were talking about closing of companies. We had closure of companies primarily because of mismanagement, primarily because of corruption and a lot of looting in Zimbabwe. Recently, we had a case which was exposed. Uh, that guy who was exposed, Obadiah Moyo, the then health minister, he was exposed of trying to inflate prices during the time of COVID with the corruption cases of about 60 million. Nothing was done to him until this day. And you are saying that it's sanctions that are killing the nation. We have had issues of Obet Mpofu, who was demanding bribes, and it was all over the news that he would demand bribes of about 10 million for companies to come and invest in Zimbabwe. We have had a lot of cases of this corruption and bribes, and yet no one is talking about that. The thing is, Zimbabwe needs people that are serious in leading and ensuring that development is undertaken. Not these jokes that we are seeing in Zimbabwe. A lot of Zimbabweans are suffering because of selfish people, incompetent people. Now we have got a government that is looting 100 million every month through gold smuggling, and we don't have radiotherapy machines in Zimbabwe. People are suffering and people are dying, and we're just blaming sanctions. What is happening to that money which is being smuggled, to the gold, to everything, to the corruption that is happening in Zimbabwe? And yet I'm not gonna even one single radiotherapy cancer machine in Zimbabwe. We don't have all those things, but we're just there to blame sanctions. Sanctions have become a scapegoat for ZANU.
I think
okay,
it will be very unfair to have this platform allowing somebody to perpetuate lies. It is very unfortunate because if you are going to allow somebody to say there are no cancer machines in Zimbabwe, just a few weeks ago, when Hopewell was, after Hopewell had that speech of his demonizing Zimbabwe, there is a lady, I still have a screenshot of it. She came, took a picture with the engineer who was at Paris fixing the cancer machines. And here is somebody on a platform that is watched worldwide saying there are no cancer machines in Zimbabwe. That is unfortunate. You are talking of Obadiah Moyo. When ED said, let's fight corruption together, ED said, certain people who are doing corruption must be arrested. Your leaders who are lawyers in Zimbabwe, they go out and they represent the criminals that the police arrest. So you come out here, you want to blame ZANU PF for your own leaders who are representing the criminals and bringing them out of the court. I want to see if CCC, or if you are a genuine patriot that has got Zimbabwe at heart, I want to see you telling your leaders to stop representing criminals and bringing them out of the prison every time they are arrested for corruption. I've never seen a ZANU PF lawyer representing those people that are arrested for corruption. It's always CCC people, always CCC leaders, always CCC lawyers that are representing those criminals. And then you come out here, you want to blame ZANU PF. ZANU PF putting the criminals in prison, you bringing them out, and then you say ZANU PF is incompetent, it cannot fight crime, it cannot fight corruption. I will not agree to that. The second thing, you are talking of Obert Mpofu. I have said it on several platforms and said, if you have got evidence against Obert Mpofu, come forward. You are all just talking. None of you has got evidence to present forward. None of you has ever said, Gugu, I've got a message. Here is a message. Let's authenticate that message. Here is a message, Obert Mpofu sending so and so saying 1, 2, 3, 4. And here is so and so agreeing to receive diamonds from Obert Mpofu. You are all just accusing Obert Mpofu. I take it that you are allergic to develop people that are successful, and you are trying to scandalize and demonize Obert Mpofu because he is one of the few Ndebele people who have worked so hard in Zimbabwe and who has earned their a good life through hard working, and I will not accept that. Bring evidence. You are talking of gold that is being smuggled. Who represented Henrietta Rushwaya? Who represented her? It was MDC lawyers. They arrested her. Your people went and brought her out. So you don't come out here to the world and blame ZANU PF for your weaknesses of bringing out criminals.
Don't bring the issue of Obert Mpofu and talk as if we are now being tribalistic. Let's use facts and not use tribalism to address issues. I have families that are in the valley.
What evidence do you have against Obert Mpofu? Right now on this platform, what evidence? I'm asking you this question. What evidence do you have against Obert Mpofu? It's very easy for me to actually escalate it right now. Bring that one.
Sorry. We want to have a civil debate, so I'll allow each one to speak, and then the other one will speak. Let's not speak at the same time. Want to have a civil conversation. At this point in time, I want to allow Elliot to come in, and then we wrap this up. So Elliot, come in.
Look, I was saying, let us not use tribalism to address issues. I have relatives that are in the valley, and the moment we try to put tribalism into it, we are making it wrong, because I also be affected of my Ndebele friends and family members. So there is nothing that we need to talk about in terms of tribalism. So it does not work that way. We cannot have it work that way. We are one Zimbabwean people, and when we have issues, let's address them as a nation, as Zimbabwean people, not to try to say I'm being jealous of a Ndebele person who is successful. How do I become jealous of someone who recently grabbed a farm of someone which was unconstitutional and took it for personal use? And recently we saw the president saying we need to stop the system of just standing up and taking farms, and then you take farm and then you realize that it's no longer unproductive. You move to another farm and then you take a farm. And Obert Mpofu is one member who has done that. He did not take this farm from a white man. He took a farm from a Ndebele man in Matabeleland. So let us not try to use tribalism to address these things. Obetipov is corrupt and is very corrupt. He said in the court, I have never seen a diamond in my life. And we have seen several pictures of him holding diamonds in his own hands. So corruption is the greatest problem that we should be dealing with. But however, this thing diverted to this, and this was not the main subject which we're supposed to be discussing. We're discussing about the issues of violence. ZANU-PF should not continue perpetuating violence in Zimbabwe against opposition members. I am not talking this from a CCC perspective. I am talking this as a concerned Zimbabwean, as a concerned citizen who is willing to see a better Zimbabwe. Which, if why is it so difficult to just have a government that does not perpetuate violence, that does not oppress its own people? Sanctions would simply go if ZANU-PF was willing to follow the law and ensure that human rights are observed in Zimbabwe. Wouldn't you be proud to be in Zimbabwe and see a Zimbabwe that is prospering without people suffering, with a lot of these sufferings gone because we're having good governance, without corruption, without economic mismanagement, without all these oppressions that we are seeing in Zimbabwe, without seeing people being maimed and abducted each and every day? Wouldn't that be so much of a nice Zimbabwe that everyone wishes? Wouldn't it be nice to see a lot of other Zimbabweans outside going back to Zimbabwe, because Zimbabwe is managed well, without corruption, with a lot of good health systems in Zimbabwe? Wouldn't it be a good thing? All we want in Zimbabwe is a good Zimbabwe that accommodates everyone.
Okay, I'm coming back to you, Elliot. Just for us to update our viewers and listeners that are watching, you're watching this debate that we're talking about. What can we do in order to stop the violence? Parties committed in Zimbabwe to have an agreement or sort of a pact to say, let's not have the subject of violence in our elections that are coming up. As you are aware, to some of you that are watching on our platform, Zim Social Network, even on my platform, which is Kenan Rusike, my Facebook page, where we're supposed to broadcast the debate that was going to be there between CCC and ZANU-PF. We had lined up that, but unfortunately we could not have those guests tonight. However, we're talking about the child pregnancies, and now we are talking about how can we stop election violence coming into 2023. What can be done in order to stop the wanton violence that is happening? And our authorities are dealing with these issues as a independent arbiter, or they are taking sides. We're also going to look at that. But before we do that, let us read some of your questions. You're also welcome to get in touch with us on the number that is on the screen. You can call, you can ask your questions. We are left with less than 10 minutes. So I'm going to read some of the questions that have been asked here. There's Mohalela Ramolocha. I don't know if it's a he or a she. He's saying sanctions are USA foreign policy. You can blame CCC as much as you want, but ZANU-PF must reform for sanctions to be removed. That is Mohale. Emmanuel Banda is saying that you are just waffling. Honorable Gugu, was the disappearance of 15 billion result of sanctions? That is another one. Anyway, there is meditation, sweets and sounds. You wanted to be part of the conversation. There's a link that I've pinned on the comments on top. So if you can follow that link, or if you can call the number that I've put up there, you can actually put in your question, and we can put you in for the conversation. I'm not seeing any calls yet, but anyway, we're going to continue. So the question that was being asked, Gugu, is this viewer is saying that sanctions are a USA foreign policy. I just want you to respond to me in 30 seconds. They are USA foreign policy, and they are not going to change even if CCC or MGC are in power. What do you have to say about that? If then CCC comes into power?
Look, Zimbabwe is not going to be lectured by USA about reforming and democracy. Right now, we are seeing, disturbing visuals of people that are being tortured by the CIA. So Zimbabwe is not going to be told how to run Zimbabwe by the USA. They must keep their USA. We keep our Zimbabwe and we run it. And number two, to add on what my brother here said, you are saying, talking of violence in Zimbabwe, how do we stop it? Number one, CCC people need to follow the laws of the country. You see a young man locking people inside an office and he expects to walk away with that. It doesn't work that way. Zimbabwe is not a banana republic. We have got laws that everyone must abide by. You see CCC people grouping and organizing themselves without any approval from the police. Zimbabwe is not a banana republic. You apply, you get the clearance, and then you do your own thing with the police there, helping you and maintaining peace and order. And if you're going to be disorderly and you want to disturb the peace of everyone, there comes the police. Because I want my business to be protected. I don't want to sue the state because CCC decided to behave like they are in a banana republic and just toy for no whatever reason. It doesn't work that way. So how do we stop the violence in Zimbabwe? CCC people must stop the violence. They must follow the laws of the country. You also can agree with me that CCC is the most violent party in Zimbabwe. You have seen what they have done to Umama Umakupe out there. You can even go on my timeline and see how they degrade and undress women. These are the people that are saying they want to be in government. Aiwa hama dzangu, zviri nani zvedu tigare neZANU PF yedu yatinoziva pane kuti totora CCC. These people are power hungry. They will do anything and everything to be in power. Thank you.
All right. But just before I do that, Gugu, there is a video that I'm going to play you of the ward councillor. Okay, there's an echo coming. There's a ward councillor in Chitungwiza who is being, there are stones that are being thrown at him, and this happened just a day before the election. How can you then claim that it was the CCC who perpetrated that violence? Can you just answer that in 30 seconds? But okay, because I have a caller on the line. All right. Or let me just allow them to ask so that you can answer at once. The caller, UK, hello. Yes, we can hear you. You can go ahead.
Yeah, right. I wish my sister was listening here.
Okay.
Gugu, I think Sister Gugu, what she's saying is she's misinforming people. That's what they call propaganda from a failed regime. Do you understand? I will say this: it's a shame because I myself, I've never voted in Zimbabwe. We chased away by Mnangagwa's Guguraund in 1986. The last I've never voted in Zimbabwe. Do you understand? Right now, okay, fine. Right now, there are more than 4 million people of Zimbabwe in South Africa, right? In UK, everywhere, right? Okay. Why you, Sister Gugu, and your government, why can't you ask yourself, where did you get it wrong? Let's say, if the West say, okay, change, why can't you change? Are you happy seeing people drowning on the Zimbabwe River? Is that okay with you? You know, what you're praying for is okay, but that was going to happen. Let's say, let's tell you stuff. The ANC will lose the election in South Africa, right? And then thereafter, another party will come in. They will lock the gate for ZANU PF. That will be the end of you, bro. That will be the end of you. We are suffering in diaspora, right? We are suffering. Because of ZANU PF. Until when? Your kids are not working. Your kids are not working. Your family people are not working. But still, you're praising him. How much is he giving you, man? How much does he pay you?
Okay. I hear you. UK is gone. There is another caller here again, just so that we can bundle them together. Okay. I think they have a question. Okay, just another one. Caller, South Africa. Okay. Hello, how are you?
Hello.
Where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Cape Town.
Okay, your name, please.
John Madamombe.
Okay. You have a question or a contribution?
just have a contribution kuna sisi wangu vachitaura kuti izvoni hadzi CC ndo iri kukonzeresa mhirizhonga munyika. Ruda kungotaura zvangu kuti zvavari kutaura izvi havasi kuziva zvavari kutaura, because tikatarisa maincident ese ezvinhu zvinenge zvichiitika munyika, ZANU-PF ndo inenge ichikonzeresa mhirizhonga. For instance, noise yakaitika mukwekwe pakazoonewa mboneni paya vanhu veZANU-PF ndo vakaenda vakanoataka vanhu veku-CC. Tikatarisa uri even ma-elections abva kuitika ma-by-elections kuchitungwiza, vanhu veZANU-PF ndo vakarova vanhu ve-CC. Saka kana CC havachiti izvoni hanzi CC ndo inokuita mhirizhonga, iri kuita mhirizhonga apapi. Gava vachiemphasiza apa CC yakaenda ikanorova vanhu, apa CC yakaenda kunorova vanhu. Posei ivo vachida kutiwo kana CC ichiita marallies ayo ipiwe mapepa ekunzi ngavabvumirwe nemapurisa, but ZANU-PF ichienda kunoita macampaigns ayo haina kana tsamba yainopiwa. For instance, gokwe CC yakaenda ikanosvika ikanoita zvayaifanira kuita, vanhu vakasara pagokwa ngavaifanira kuenda kukwekwe, handiti pakazopedzisira pakuunzwa water cannon yaienda kuti inodzinga vanhu vakawaenda kunomirira chamisa. Saka chakakonzeresa noise kugokwe havasi vanhu vachamisa. Water cannon yakaenda kunodira vanhu mvura ndo yakakonzeresa noise. Saka kana vachiti izvoni hanzi CC iri kukonzeresa problem, ari kuzama kuda kutaura kuti chii. Toda kuti andiexplainere kuti CC yacho ari kuti iri kukonzeresa problem papi. Iwo ukasvika ukandorova mbama inini ndoramba ndakanyarara, ende ukatarisa pese panoitika zvinenge zvichiitika hapana ma-CC anodzorera. Vanhu veZANU ndo vanenge vachingouraya vanhu left, right and center. Vakaita kudaro kuti ngatisangane kukoti.
Okay, I hear you there. It's John Madamombe, right?
Yeah, it's John Madamombe. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. You can listen on the show, but thank you for your question. I will let Gugu come in. Gugu, can you come in?
Yes, big brother. Thank you so much. First of all, let me address my UK brother who just who started the question, who asked first. First of all, yes. I have a question with you. You said when the sanctions are targeted. So why are you out of the country if the sanctions are targeted? You should be in Zimbabwe. Let ED, let VP, let DG Moyo, let Johnny, let Peter, let James, let Obet Mpofu be the ones out of the country running away. When you've got no reason for running away, your running away from Zimbabwe is not justified because you just argued that sanctions are targeted. And you just said not everybody, not every industry is sanctioned in Zimbabwe. So go back to Zimbabwe and rebuild a monarch. Go back to Zimbabwe and rebuild Merlin and stop coming out here with stories. Sanctions are targeted. Oh, nice. Sanctions are targeted. Saka kana iwewe zita rako risiri list dzokera kumusha. You have got no reason to be out of the country because you are not under sanctions. His Excellence is the one under sanctions, and it. So His Excellence is justified to run away. Iwewe, you are not justified to run away. Go back home. You've got no reason to be out of the country. Number two, I come to the issue of violence. We don't condone violence as ZANU-PF. We don't do that. We don't condone violence. However, I understand the anger and the frustration that our people are having in Harare. You know, the CCC run councils, they are a disgrace. They are in shambles. People are tired of walking on top of sewages. People are tired of drinking maroon water. People are tired of being without electricity. People are tired of no service delivery. I don't condone violence, but at the same time, I do understand their frustration. Councillors must deliver. They must stop sleeping on job.
Okay, but Gugu, there is the video that I wanted you to see. What do you say about this video? This one that we are playing.
I think I just addressed that video. My response was,
can this be justified? This is people that are wearing ZANU-PF t-shirt, caps. You can see them.
Kenan, listen. Okay. Wearing a ZANU-PF t-shirt does not mean you are a ZANU-PF member. We saw in Gokwe, and that time when that CCC rally happened in Gokwe, I was in Zimbabwe. I was not far from that place, by the way. And I can tell you that some of the people that were wearing ZANU-PF regalia are not even our members. So wearing ZANU-PF regalia does not make you a ZANU-PF member. We need to take note of that. We have had many CCC people coming to cause havoc and disorder, say blaming it on ZANU-PF. We are aware of that. We know that, and we know them. They know that we know them also. So wearing ZANU-PF regalia does not mean one is ZANU-PF. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't. We don't condone violence. However, I say to you, I understand the frustration of these citizens. There hasn't been any service delivery in the CCC run councils. People are frustrated. They are tired of their children playing on sewages. People are tired of drinking maroon water. Are tired. These councillors, they live in good places, good houses. People, they're not delivering services, stealing. It doesn't work that way. People are frustrated. And when people are frustrated, this is what you get. We do not condone the violence. I repeat that. We don't condone the violence. But I understand the frustration of these people. They are frustrated. CCC councillors must up their game. Harare is stinking because of them. Harare is in shambles. It's a shame because of CCC.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, we are seriously running out of time. Elliot, I want you to come in as we close this broadcast. What is your final words, maybe responding to what Gugu has been saying?
Thank you. Let me say this. It is funny that she says we do not condone violence as a party, but at the same time she admits that the people in a party are also causing violence. And I'm sure she also agrees to say the people who also killed Ngomeni Ngube in Kwekwe is also ZANU-PF. They are also ZANU-PF thugs, They are the ones who also caused the death of an opposition member. And I think my sister Gugu missed the point to which the guy who asked first to say, who was saying that since 1986 he has not been in Zimbabwe and he has never voted. I think you had misplaced answers when you said that he should go back to Zimbabwe, he should be the one in Zimbabwe. He was pointing to you that he left Zimbabwe because of violence that was being inflicted on them. That is why he had to run away from Zimbabwe as a refugee, not voluntarily. And maybe you need clarity on this. People who are put on sanctions, for example, those that are on sanctions in Zimbabwe, as targeted sanctions, they are put on those sanctions. They are actually travel sanctions, most of them. They cannot go to those countries that are alleging Kuti. They should actually be the ones who are in Zimbabwe. These ones that are on sanctions can actually not go where you are actually purporting that they should be. They cannot go there because they are on travel bans and they cannot move to those countries. And as a starting point to ensure that our country develops, we need to have our brothers and sisters in ZANU-PF to agree that they have had mistakes they made, they have had failures they made, they've had a lot of incompetencies they caused, they destroyed a lot in our country. They need to start there and agree that they actually messed up. And they need to be responsible for their mistakes. They need to stop this blame game of saying this and this. Well, let me just give an example of one which was trying to purport to councillors of the opposition that they've been causing sewages and everything in Harare and that water thing. I am sure that she's aware that July Moyo recently was involved in a very corrupt deal to inflate the prices of pumps, which were supposed to cost around 500,000 to each costing 2 million. I'm sure she's aware of that fact. And that corruption scandal, nothing has been done to investigate that. Nothing is still going to be done because the ZANU-PF people are untouchables and they are above the law. The thing is, we need to have serious conversations about the leaders we have. We do not need to be blind followers and blind defenders who just defend for the sake of defending a party. We need politics with morality in our country. We need to have individuals with morality. Patriotism is not blind defending. Patriotism is the love for the nation and the love to have a leader who is responsible and who loves his own or her own population as a country. We cannot be having people that are destroying the future of the people of Zimbabwe, calling for violence on his own people and saying that such people are patriotic when they are actually doing the opposite and destroying and maiming the citizens of our nation. We need to have a serious conversation and have a discussion to understand that this is not patriotism. This is actually killing our nation. We need to have individuals who love their nation and not defend because they have to defend ZANU-PF. We need, the funny part is just before
Okay.
2017 when the coup was, let me just conclude one minute.
Okay.
The funny part is just before the coup, everyone, in fact, all the provinces in Zimbabwe were saying we are going with President Robert Mugabe to the Congress. Soon after the coup, everyone was from Mnangagwa and everyone was endorsing Mnangagwa. It is a funny pattern of a patriotic and very confused people, a very confused population that we need to deal with in our country. It is quite sad that we have reached this level as a nation, and such things need to be addressed and readdressed. Thank you.
All right. Before I allow Gugu to respond, I've got quite a long voice note here. I don't know how long will it play, but it's like 7 minutes. Let me just play it so that I don't do injustice to the to this viewer. Let me just hear.
Thank you again for this opportunity. We are following the show. It's very interesting, exciting topics. I just wanted to comment.
I don't know. Can you hear him?
No, I can't. Is there a way you can increase the?
Can you hear? Can you hear him?
Volume is a bit down.
The show is very interesting and exciting topics. I just
Much
wanted
better
to
now.
comment, saying that I feel that Mr. Mandaza is a better patriot. It's only that his efforts are just misplaced. He would do better actually if he would move to parties like CCC, or I think that's the only part that he can move to. He would do better there. He would work for Zimbabweans. I think ZANU-PF is more than a terrorist party. If we say ZANU-PF is a terrorist party, it's an understatement. ZANU-PF is a mafia group. It is more than Al-Shabaab. It is more than Boko Haram. They want to hide behind the mistakes that the juniors are making. They want to comment a lot about what CCC is doing. CCC is just a few months old, and yet they want to point fingers on CCC as if CCC has been there in the Smith regime. We are looking at ZANU-PF according to their track record. For 42 years they've been in power. That's where we take our comments from. Like ZANU-PF has been doing this and this and this in those 42 years. 42 years is a very long time that you can see. Even if it was a wife or a relationship or a marriage, you would definitely know the kind of marriage that you have. You would definitely know the kind of relationship or a partner that you have. So let this woman not speak ill and comment things that are just absurd online as if she's talking sense. She's just talking nonsense. Because the thing is, she wants to say this and this. You cannot say this and this because you are corrupting the minds of people. Hopewell went to Geneva for whatever reasons that he went there. He has a right to do so. It is his constitutional right. He is doing what he's doing, and he has a freedom of expression. I believe so. He wants to free his country in whatever way that he thinks we are bound. That's why he went to Geneva, and he has every right to do so. If you think he is not correct, you just tell us how Hopewell was not correct about what he is saying,
so that we can know your side of the story. Don't tell us, oh, how Hopewell is painting the country. He's not painting the country. He's stating his facts. State your facts. Then we'll judge you both. Then we'll see who is wrong and who is not. That's politics, my sister. Don't take it personal. It's politics. You state your side, he states his side. Then we judge you both. Don't say things that are upset. You're just showing us how foolish you are.
All right. For the sake of time, I will allow Gugu to respond because we are running out of time. Please, if you are sending us a voice note, make sure it's at least 2 minutes so that we can allow others to come in. And by the time you finish your question, I totally understand the brother. I think I hear what he's trying to say. Gugu, any last words as we close the show?
Number one, they are all arguing that ZANU-PF is violent. What, did ZANU-PF degrade and dehumanize Umamkupe? No. Number two, did ZANU-PF lock the employees of Impala in the offices? No. Number three, you claim that you have been abducted. You go to court. You fail to prove your case. Whose fault is it? Is that the president's fault? Where does the president come in there? Number four, you go and you protest without the police approval. You are breaking the law. And I want you to hear it from me. You will get arrested. If you break the law in Zimbabwe, you will get arrested. It's as simple as that. So CCC people, and he is arguing that CCC is a few months old. CCC is not a few months old. It's not. It was formed in 2000 or 1999 somewhere. They're just changing a leader does not mean the institution is new. It's not. So I think CCC people are confused and they are calling themselves a government in waiting, but they cannot prove that they are better than ZANU-PF. Instead, they are proving that they are worse than ZANU-PF. If you want to see that CCC people are the most violent, disagree with them on anything, I can assure you, you will be called all the names. You will be called all the names on this planet simply because you don't agree on certain things with them, which is very sad for a so-called government in waiting. And I leave this question to the CCC. Why contest in an election knowing that ZEC is biased? Is ZEC only biased when ZANU-PF wins? But when you win, ZEC is not biased. You need to think and think deeper. And lastly, your leaders are representing the so-called people that are being arrested for corruption. So who is fooling who here? CCC leaders should stop fooling people. Before the elections, they were talking about reforms. Now the elections have gone. Their leaders are so quiet about the so-called reforms. They are waiting for the 23 elections so that they can lose and blame it on reforms, rigging, and this is the time. Address those things. They are dololo because they know there is no rigging that is taking place. If there was any rigging, I'm sure Chamisa and all the other leaders will be on top of the mountain right now talking about it and decampaigning it or campaigning for it. But they are not. Meaning ZANU-PF is not rigging. Anyway, we meet you in 2023. I can assure you victory is certain for ZANU-PF. We're still getting it. 2030, tinenge tichiripo. Good night.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Eliad Kajume and Dr. Gugu Ncube. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming
To the show.
to
It was an impromptu kind of like a notice to both of you, but you managed to come. I would like to say thank you for that. And you debated with decorum. So we hope that we can have this, debate of ideas or clash of ideas on such a platform, and we can be able to find each other even after disagreeing on matters. For that, I want to say thank you for coming, everyone, and everyone that was watching. All right. We seem to have lost. Thank you so much, Eliad, for
coming.
It is all right. I hope that we'll also have more informed discussions without emotions and everything in the future, which will be filled with facts and But thank you. I really appreciate it. And it was good having you as well. Thank you for having me. Until next time, and have a wonderful night.
All right. Okay. By the way, you can catch Eliad Kajume on Twitter. That is his Twitter handle. So you can go and check him out on that platform. That's him on Twitter. Hopefully, we'll see you next week or on Tuesday when we are going to have the actual debate with the big CCC and the big ZANU-PF guys on that debate. But I would like to say thank you to Eliad once again. Anyway, that has been the discussion. What do you think about the issue of violence that we see in Zimbabwe? What is your take? Are we seeing parties making inroads and making sure that they stop the violence that we are seeing? One life is too many to lose. One life is too many to be injured in the political space just because someone believes in what you don't believe in. So for me, I think that we really need to see serious action, whether it is a pact, whether it is a dialogue, whether it is an agreement between these two parties, so that when we get to 2023, we're not going to see skirmishes, we're not going to see parties getting on each other's neck physically, but they can debate with decorum and living together with harmony, where you see CCC and ZANU-PF walking side by side, going to vote and saying, I'm voting CCC, the other one saying I'm voting MDC or I'm voting ZANU-PF, and without anyone feeling intimidated or looking over their shoulder. I want that. That is what I desire, and that is what I want to see in the upcoming election. If we can do that, we would have proved that we are matured as a nation. On that note, I would like to say thank you to everyone that was watching. And we once again want to say apologies to the people, to you, because we could not bring the guests that we had promised you earlier on. However, we will be able to meet you on Tuesday when we are going to have that debate. So from me, Kenan, and the guest that we're hosting tonight, it's a bye for now, and please have a great week ahead of you. We'll see you on Tuesday or tomorrow when we'll be having another guest. And you stay safe.